Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. So literally, if you are anywhere in the world and you need to get to a therapist, go to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez, and they will set you up with a licensed professional therapist, master's level or PhD level. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Wow. Hi, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Hello from Spain. Oh, my goodness. It's good to see you guys. So today, here's the current event. Today is Mother's Day. So for those of you who had good moms, great. Have a great day. That are good moms, have a great day. If you have mothers that were abusive, neglectful, harmful, hurtful, etc., and you are no contact with them, stay no contact. Do not let a Hallmark holiday make you get back in touch with somebody who's abusive. So, and this goes for Father's Day too, coming up in June. So I just want to remind people, it's like, if you are no contact with your mom and you're starting to feel guilty about her or any sort of weird stuff, and I talked about guilt on Wednesday. So if you guys are suffering from guilt that's being given to you, shame that's being given to you by an abuser, go check out the video I did on Wednesday. But if you're having that, oh my gosh, it's Mother's Day, I should contact them, even though they were abusive or even though they were neglectful, here's the question you ask yourself. If I were not related to this bozo, would I have anything to do with them? If the answer is no, act accordingly. Have nothing to do with them. Stay no contact for your own comfort and your own safety. If you reconnect with an abusive parent, I can guarantee you it's the inner child trying to do that. It's the inner child going, but. In fact, we're going to be talking a lot about the inner child today. Wanting something different. And if you're going to a well that is dry and it's salted and it's poisoned. So don't go to that well. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not going to work out well. So that is what I have to say about Mother's Day. If you have a good mom, great. If you don't, for the love of God and all that's holy, do not contact them if you are no contact, because it's just not going to end well. So that is the current event for today. So we flew in last night from Honolulu, so I'm very, very tired. So I'm sorry, I may ramble a little bit today because I've got very little sleep. So anyway, okay. All right. So today's topic is oversharing. Anything you say can and absolutely will be used against you. Absolutely, 110%. No even question about that. So what can we do about oversharing and why do we do it? So there's the thing that's the question. So here's what's going on. It's our limbic system. Yay, limbic system. Whoops, hello, the light decided to just get really weird. There we go. Okay. It's our limbic system. So basically what ends up happening is it's our amygdala. So our amygdala is our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? The amygdala can't tell the difference between past, present, future, emotional, non-emotional, whatever. So when we get triggered in some way, shape, or form, an abuser comes at us, whether it's a parent or romantic partner or an official or anybody who's abusive, anybody. And our limbic system gets triggered and we're suddenly thrown into this emotional dysregulation, and we are operating from the level of a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever the inner child was at the time that we were unjustly accused. This is why it is so important to go back through and do inner child work. Hugely important. Re-raising that inner child so that when we get triggered, we're able to recognize it and go, oh, I feel like I'm about 10. Holy cow, I need to take a step back and take a deep breath and then respond, as opposed to thrown into a tizzy. The limbic system is going crazy. Your amygdala is going danger, 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 danger. Cortisol is flooding the body, and you're starting to spew in an effort to not get in trouble. That's basically what's happening. Okay, this light is driving me crazy. Hold on. Half a tick. I'm going to do something different because it's driving me crazy and I don't like it. There we go. Ha, better. Okay. So, all right. So the limbic system is going crazy and it's reacting. It's reacting. You don't want to react. You want to act. So getting yourself back to emotional regulation and back to recognizing, oh my gosh, I'm oversharing. So in the most common times that this happens is when the abuser is coming at us, right? They're unjustly accusing us of something, who knows what. Usually in a divorce case, usually in a custody case. So basically what it is you want to start re-raising your inner children. So that means doing the work. That means doing the mirror work, addressing that inner child. Hello, inner child. I see you. I hear you. It's okay. You don't have to react. You can let the adult me deal with stuff. Little you gets to go play. I get to deal with this stuff. You know, doing the mirror work, reinforcing that. Doing the guided imagery, working Catherine Taylor's Inner Child Workbook, or Lucia Cappuccini's Inner Child Workbook. Doing guided imagery, taking yourself back through your childhood. Standing behind your child, hands on your child's shoulders, and guiding them through all those nasty times that you had to deal with so that you're the protector. You're taking care of them. You've got them covered. Oh, laundry's done. So, you know, doing that. So that's really important because otherwise what ends up happening is somebody comes at us and, oh my gosh, we start people pleasing. And one of the ways we people pleased as a child was to try to explain, right? Well, why did you do this? Or why are you doing that? And you did this and you did that. No, I didn't, but. And that's what gets us into trouble because then we start saying anything and everything, you know, trying to figure out what's going to be the magic combination that's going to make them stop. But here's the deal. You've got to understand, abusers are dedicated to misunderstanding you. Let me say that again. Abusers are dedicated to misunderstanding you. They know the truth. They do. They don't care. They will lie. If their lips are moving, they're lying. Remember, we've talked about this. And even though you're speaking the truth and you're saying that you didn't do this or, you know, that's not fair or whatever, they don't care. They literally do not care. You've got to understand, you are dealing with somebody who has no empathy, none. And they're sadistic. And you are their chosen punching bag. So nothing you say is going to make a difference. You would have a better and deeper conversation with my backdrop than you would with an abuser. They are dedicated to misunderstanding you. So what can we do about this? So first of all, there's a couple of books, which of course, in my 3 hours of sleep, I didn't put out. One of them is the divorce guide. Lori Hellis. Lori Hellis wrote a book on divorce. Brain gone. I'll think of it. Anyway, that's one of them. So the book by Lori Hellis, just look up Lori Hellis. It'll pop up. Insider's Guide to Divorce, I think is what it's called. And it's great because she goes through the whole justice system so you understand what the courts are looking for. The other one is Splitting by Bill Eddy and Randy Krieger, because you got to understand this is intentional on the part of the abuser. They poke in an effort to either get you to do reactionary, screaming at them because you're trying to make them stop. So then they can film it and say, oh, you're the abuser, which they love to do. Listen to me now, believe me later, guys. There is no depth. There is no end to their depravity. There is no low that they won't go to. They'll do anything. I had one recently that in a medical emergency, when alone in the hospital room with the child, started screaming, don't hurt me, don't touch me, you're hitting me, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the other parent was across the room. Thank God the other parent had their phone on. So, and then this person tried to bring that to the courts, and the courts threw it out. But it's just, their depravity is amazing. It just, don't put it past them. I have so many times had clients go, oh no, they would never do that. Yeah, they would. If it will push their agenda, if it will get you in trouble with the law, if it will get you in trouble with the courts, they absolutely will. You cannot trust them as far as you can spit. Seriously. You can trust them just about as far as you could spit a dead rat out of your mouth. That's about as far as you could do it, because you can't trust them. They will do the most heinous things to try to get you in trouble, and to get you to over-explain, and to get you to say things that are going to be used against you in a court of law. So here's the deal. Every single time you have an interaction with an ex or with anybody that is abusive, you want to treat it as if it's going to show up in court records. Seriously. So there were some really good articles that I pulled up about oversharing and how to stop, because that seems to be the big problem. Because what I see happening is tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat, and then shooting back and thinking that somehow it's going to make a difference. And what's going on is that inner child is the one that's going, but, and trying to get them to hear you. They're dedicated to not hearing you. Listen to me now, believe me later. They're never going to hear you. They're never going to get that you're a good person. Let me just be clear here. They're never going to get it. Never. I mean, it's like Jesus Christ himself could come down and say, look, this person's a good person, and they would argue with him. No lie. So, okay. So here's the deal. You've got to stop arguing with them. You've got to stop playing their game. Their game is to get you hooked into that inner child so that you start oversharing. You've got to stop, because they'll be selective about what they share with the courts, especially if you're not using our family wizard. They'll be selective about, what they videotape, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So don't put yourself in those positions. So, okay. So here's the one I wanted to show you. It's called How to Set Boundaries in an Age of Oversharing. And this is on Psychology Today. So for regular, non-disordered family, spouses, friends, they suggest putting columns. So in the past, I've always told you, write out your list of deal breakers, right? So those are your boundaries. Deal breakers are your boundaries that you will not allow anyone else to cross. Boundaries are your boundaries. So who you would be comfortable sharing what with. So in this one, it's called How to Set Boundaries in an Age of Oversharing. It's on Psychology Today. It's by Andrea Brandt, PhD. And what she suggests doing is writing it out. So in columns, who are you willing to share what with? So the first column is significant other. Now that would be provided you had a sane significant other. We're going to go back through it if it's not a sane significant other. Second one would be family. Now that would be provided if they were a sane family. Third, friends. Fourth, strangers or acquaintances. Okay. Then you write down subjects that you're uncomfortable discussing with these 4 categories. So now here's the deal. If you're divorcing a disordered narcissist, psychopath, dark triad, etc., there is going to be very little you're going to be willing to discuss with them. So basically, if you have children with one of these jackwagons, the only thing you are going to discuss is need to know information about the child. That's it. That is it. You are not going to respond to anything else. Even if they sit there and poke, if they accuse you of X, Y, and Z, no response. Listen to me now, believe me later. No response is a response. Or you could simply say, I'm not addressing that, period. And then don't address it, and then let them go off, because if you're doing our family wizard, it's going to show how crazy they are. So there is that. So you stick to only, stop it, watch. You stick to only things that are facts and figures. No emotion. No emotion. They want to get you riled up so that you'll start bleh, so that they can go to the court and go, look, see how crazy they are? And this goes for male abusers. This goes for female abusers. Doesn't matter. I've seen both of them do it. So when you are doing any sort of communication, basically, you're not discussing anything that isn't relevant to either the divorce or the custody. And it's got to be super. I got to turn off the sound. Ooh, there we go. So, yeah, and that is the biggest mistake we make. Now, let's move on to toxic family. there's going to be very little that you're going to discuss with them too. Literally, if you choose to stay in contact with them, it needs to be surface stuff only. Nothing that is serious, nothing that is important to you. Why? Because they will sabotage it. Guarantee it, 110%, take it to the bank and earn interest on it. So if you have got toxic family and you share something that's important to you, they're going to put it down. They're going to tell you you can't do it. They're going to make fun of you for wanting to do it. They're going to do everything they can to keep you from doing it. So again, know your audience. And the key is getting that inner child to understand that toxic abuser, that toxic family is never going to be the well filled with healthy water that they need. Does that make sense? So you've got to really work with that inner child to know that you cannot go to either one of those wells. Those wells are dry and salted and poisoned. Don't go to them. You're not going to get the approval, the validation, the encouragement, the support, the love that you deserve. Not from those two idiots. You're just not, because they're disordered and they're evil and they're just dedicated to being sadistic and nasty and mean. And you're their favorite punching bag. And how dare their favorite punching bag go do something awesome. So that's why you don't go to your family and share things. So for example, when I went back and got my master's degree, I didn't tell anybody. I told my sister and that was it. My oldest sister, that was it. That's the only person I told. And then I waited until graduation and then I told my mom and then she came out for graduation because I did not want the naysaying. I didn't want the nastiness. I didn't want the you can't do it. I didn't want the... So I just went ahead and did it and didn't tell anybody except somebody who I knew was going to be supportive. And this is what you have to have really seriously a come to Jesus meeting with your inner child. Who really truly is supportive in your life? And the way you tell that is previous behavior. Seriously. So like my oldest sister, consistent, always supportive, always good advice, always helping me, always amazing. So, I knew I could trust her. Everybody else in the family, not so much. So, you know what I'm saying? So you really have to have a serious chat with that inner child and be like, look, little one, this person, and this person are not safe to talk to. This person's safe to talk to. Those people, not safe to talk to. So now we're going to move into the friends category. So are these people truly supportive? So in this age of oversharing, like social media, oh dear Lord, some of the things I've read on social media, I'm like, why are you telling everybody this? Nobody needs to know this, especially your ex. Hello. But it's like with friends, not every friend is really a friend. Some of them are acquaintances, and we have to be okay with that. And I've noticed the inner child has a really hard time with that. It wants everybody to be the friend. Everybody's my friend. Well, no, darling, not everybody is your friend. Sometimes they pretend to be friends and they've got a knife hidden behind their backs, just waiting to use it on you. So when we come out of an abusive relationship, whether that is a romantic relationship or a familial relationship, our pickers are not really good. And so the people that we've surrounded ourselves with tend to mimic our family of origin. So you want to be very careful about your friends. They had better be true friends. In other words, not running back to the abuser, not flying monkeys, not in competition with you, not a covert narcissist, not a psychopath. Are they really your friends? And again, behavior speaks louder than words. What is the behavior? Are they there for you when the chips are down? Are they there for you when you need somebody? Or are they busy and, I can't be bothered with this or blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? So this is how you kind of start separating things out. Who can you start trusting? Now, again, this all boils down to self-esteem. You have got to work on your self-esteem, trusting your own gut, because that is where our picker lives, is in our gut instinct. Okay. When we've been abused, either romantically or family of origin or whatever, they tell us, oh no, your gut's wrong. Oh no, you don't see that. Oh no, this isn't really happening. Gaslighting. Hello. And so we then stop acknowledging. We see the pink elephant taking a crap in the corner of the living room, but we stop acknowledging it. And pretty soon we don't see it because we've been trained not to. So you've got to allow yourself to start trusting your gut again. Okay. Self-esteem workbook, Glenn Schiraldi. Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker. Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor, Lucia Cappuccioni. Start doing guided imagery with your inner children. Allow them to acknowledge that they see the pink elephant taking a crap in the corner of the family living room. Do you see where I'm going with that? So that is what's important, is really working on listening to your gut, trusting that gut instinct. If something feels off, it probably is. And you may be a little paranoid in the beginning, but I'll tell you what, I'd rather have you be a little paranoid than a little too naive. Does that make sense? So there is that. I see we've got some questions. I will get to them in about 10 minutes. Hang on. So, okay, setting boundaries. So the other thing you have to do too is when you are on the internet, okay, and this is where I see a lot of people making a mistake when they're in a custody battle or a divorce. They don't lock their stuff down. You have got to lock your stuff down. Why? Well, it's not just the abuser you have to be concerned about. It's the flying monkeys, okay? So oversharing gets picked up by the flying monkeys. The flying monkeys run back to the abuser and tell the abuser or screenshot it and show the abuser. So basically, you do not want to say anything on the internet that you do not want to have end up in court. Serious as a heart attack. I know it's really tempting that when you are in the middle of a divorce and you want to show the other person that you're living a great life. Well, you don't want to do that. It's none of their business. Nobody needs to know that. It really doesn't, because what they'll do is they'll go to the court and say, see, they don't need child support. See, they don't need that. Look at all the money they're spending on it. It's BS, honestly, because really what it boils down to is how much you make, not what you do with it. But, they'll do that. They're, how do I explain this? The person who represents themselves in a court of law has a fool for a client. Oftentimes narcissists do that because they're so arrogant. They think they can do it on their own. Now, of course, sometimes the abuse targets can't afford an attorney and they have to represent themselves. That's different. But what I've seen the abusers do is they will just then file motion after 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 motion based on things that they saw on the internet or things that were said in Our Family Wizard or whatever. And that's why I'm saying, if you don't want it to end up in court, don't say it. Keep to facts and figures. Do not get drawn into their cesspool, I think that's the best way to put it, of word salad and accusations and nastiness, because they want you to respond. They want you to react. They want to have something that they can take back to their attorney or to their judge or whatever they're doing, or file some sort of frivolous motion. They're idiots. They do this all the time. And it's for two reasons. One, they think they're smarter than everybody else. They don't understand the law. Two, they want to bankrupt the other person. That's why you want to say absolutely as little as possible. So stopping the oversharing, again, you write it out. Who can you share with? Who can you share with? If they're toxic, you cannot share with them. And you're going to have to remind your inner child. Now, when I was healing from my crazy toxic family, I had a dream towards the end of me seeing Fabian Smith in Portland, Oregon. Fabian was a godsend, thank God. And one of the dreams I had a dream that all of my family members that were abusive were all forced to sit down. They were gagged and they were, tied to the chair and they had to hear me. And in my dream, I told them everything. I was just like, you're a jerk. You're this, you're that, you did that, and it was great to get it off my chest. When I woke up from that dream, I was like, wow, that is my subconscious talking, right? All the things I wanted to say, but I couldn't. And I recognized I could never say it to them in person because they wouldn't get it. And B, they'd deny it. And C, they'd flip it around and make it all my fault. But it's kind of like, that's kind of what you have to do with your inner child. Allow them the chance to speak it out to the abusers. So you can either do a guided imagery with your inner children and let them say everything they wanted to say, and then remind them, hey, little one, we can't do that with whoever the abuser is, but we can certainly do it in guided imagery. And why this works is because our limbic system, our amygdala, cannot tell the difference between imagining it and doing it. That's why if you sit and you think about being in a bank robbery, you're standing in line, suddenly bank robbers come in and they got guns and they're going to hold the place hostage. Your heart will start pounding and you'll start breathing fast because your amygdala can't tell the difference between you just imagining a bank robbery and actually being in a bank robbery. So the beautiful thing is you can start healing your inner child by imagining having conversations with all of these people and telling them exactly where to go pound sand and reminding your inner child, you're the adult. You get to protect them. It's your job. You will protect them. They don't need to do anything except be little kids. That's it. You will keep them safe. And so you work on that guided imagery. So I strongly suggest, seriously, strongly suggest, if you're struggling with oversharing, I strongly suggest you start working on the inner child. That's what's doing it. The inner child is the one that's going, but, it's not fair. But, you're not hearing me. They're never going to hear you. It is always going to be unfair with them. Always, which is why you give them nothing. That's why Gray Rock is so great. It's like, no response is a response. And if they have nothing to work with, they have to make stuff up. And eventually people start figuring out that they're making stuff up because you're not responding. There's no paper trail. There's no internet trail. There's no, do you see where I'm going with that? So, and that's why I tell people, it's like, stop talking to your spouse on the phone. If you're in the middle of a high conflict, contentious divorce, high conflict custody issue, if you're on the phone with them and it's not being recorded based on whatever state law you're in, they can say that you said anything. So that's why I'm saying everything has to be in writing. Get our family wizard. Insist on it. And if they refuse to use it, hold them in contempt of court because obviously they're hiding something. Duh. Seriously, it's like they don't think. They're just kind of like, well, I'm just not going to use it. I'm not going to, I'll do it this way. No, if it's court ordered, it's court ordered. So, so you want to get splitting and you want to get, oh, thank you, Andrea. You want to get splitting and you want to get the book by Lori Hellis, The Insider's Guide. I think it's The Insider's Guide to Divorce. I can't think of what the title is, but it's by Lori Hellis. Great book. Okay. So how to set boundaries. All right. So then the other thing to recognize too, is that we get triggered and it's called trauma dumping. Trauma dumping. So in other words, when you find yourself on a flow and you're just blah, 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 and you're just keep talking, what you want to do is you want to take a look. How old were you when you did that? How old are you feeling in that moment? It is your inner child. That's a trauma dump. And that is something you want to get with a good trauma therapist and start working on. How old were you when you started having to defend yourself? Now, if we were raised by family of origin that was abusive, we were defending ourselves all the damn time. Seriously. It's like, why are you breathing that way? And we had to explain why we were breathing that way. So the thing I want to encourage you to get into the habit of is you don't owe anybody an explanation. I know, shock. You don't owe anybody, I don't care who they are, an explanation. You don't. You do not. Now, obviously, if you're in a court of law and somebody asks you something, yeah, you're going to have to explain. But you really, really, really want to take a look at who's asking and why. What's their agenda? What's their motivation? What are they looking for? If somebody's, digging, then they're obviously trying to find things against you. So you really want to be careful with who you share things with. And on the internet, if you're going through a divorce, lock it down. Get rid of the flying monkeys. Well, how come I can't see your stuff anymore? Because I'm going through a divorce. That's all you need to say. Well, but I'm not going to share. I understand. And that's all you need to say. You don't need to appease them. You do not need to appease them. You seriously do not need to appease them. So, all right. So setting boundaries. All right. And then you are going to talk to people about your boundaries. If your father keeps prying into your romantic relationships or your financial situation or anything else, you simply say that is not up for discussion. How about them Dodgers? And if they keep doing it, you leave. Healthy, normal, let me say this again. Healthy, normal people catch clues. and they respect the word no. If somebody's uncomfortable discussing something, all a healthy, normal person needs to hear is change of subject. Ooh, that's off topic. Okay. And then you don't revisit it. People who have no boundaries will continue to march over the boundaries. So if after you've said, this is not up for discussion, how about them Dodgers? And they do something like, ooh, really touchy, are we? You get up and you leave. You get up and you leave. Because that is a boundary that they are obviously not respecting. So that is super important. Okay. Make changes on social media. You've got to change who you have on there. Do not let it be public. Do not let your ex or any of his flying or her flying monkeys get on there. It's dangerous, especially if you're in the middle of the divorce and the custody battle. You absolutely do not want to have anybody on there that has access to your personal stuff, because you know it's going to go right back to them. Now, switching gears a bit. During a divorce, what I see abusers do is they overshare to their kids. Okay. They tell the kids way the hell too much. So if you are the spouse of a person that's oversharing and the kid comes to you, and usually it's about money, that's or how horrible the other person is. Oh, I'm broke because of your dad. I'm broke because of your mom. I'm broke, or they're awful, they're horrible, they had an affair. Whatever the kid comes to you with, you just say, honey, that's not for you to worry about. Daddy or mommy is upset and they're saying things that are not true. And you leave it at that, because that is the truth. You don't go into anything else. You don't over explain, and you be age specific. Remember, little ones like 0 to 6 do not have the cognitive ability to cope with the emotional fallout of a divorce. So, for example, in this article, let me see who did this one. Mom and Dad and TMI, Are You an Oversharer? By Peggy Drexler, PhD. Children are keeping terrible secrets. Children are terrible at keeping secrets. Yes. So one of the examples in here is that one of the thank you, Rob. One of the kids heard the parent say, well, I'm never going to marry again, and da 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 da. And the kid was young, 6, and they couldn't quite figure out why. And so somehow being married became very awful in their mind, because the parent kept saying how horrible it was. Well, just because the parent had a horrible marriage doesn't mean the kid's going to have a horrible marriage. My mom used to do that all the time. My mom was like, oh, you should never get married. It's horrible. It's awful. It's terrible. Well, John and I have been married for almost 30 years, and we love each other, and we have a lot of fun together, obviously. So, it's disordered thinking to do that. So if you hear the child saying something about never marrying again, you say, you know what? That's mommy or daddy's experience. That's not yours. You get to have a great marriage if you want one. Leave it at that. So you've got to be very careful what you say and how much you say to kids about the divorce. So when a kid asks, why are you getting divorced? Keep it simple. Mommy and daddy just grew apart. We cannot agree on anything. We were not meant to be. That's it. That's all you need to say. You do not need to go into depth. You do not, depending on how old they are. Now, if they're teenagers, they're probably quite aware of what's going on in the marriage. They're not stupid. Kids know when something's off. I knew when something was off when I was a little kid. You could probably say like, well, daddy's got an anger issue or mommy's got an anger issue, and I just don't want to be around that, which is the truth. So, and then as they get older, age appropriate, you give them more information, but you don't overload them, because their little brains aren't able to cope with that. They're not able to process that through. Anyway, so that was Mom and Dad and TMI, and that was on Psychology Today. Okay, attachment and the search for the inner child. If the intensity of your emotions and reactions are out of sync or way stronger than what the situation calls for, you may need to do some inner child work. No, it's not you may need to, you do need to, because that's who's running the show. So here are the things that we need to start telling ourselves. I can feel happiness and purpose simultaneously with deep sorrow. And why do I say that? So we stop running from feeling sad. And that is something that our inner child does. Is that a lot of times, especially when I work with clients that had not only abuse, but a substance issue, I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. It needs to only be happy. Only happy. Well, if life were only happy, I don't think we'd be here on planet Earth. So all of the emotions are good, guys. All of the emotions are good. They may not be comfortable, but they're good. They're all okay. It's what we do with them that makes them helpful or hurtful. So it's okay to feel joy and sadness. You can. We have a depth and a breadth to us. We can feel both simultaneously. In fact, Buddha speaks about, enlightenment as being able to acknowledge all of the emotions and yet still feel that deep kind of sadness or that deep sorrow. So it's kind of acknowledging all things kind of thing and allowing. I can be the author of my life as opposed to living out a sad, lonely story assigned to me in childhood. So a lot of disordered parents, I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Like Water for Chocolate. It's an old one, really good. So in that movie, the mom, basically generational trauma is what it's about. The youngest in every family was assigned a role to take care of the mom. And she never was supposed to have a life, never supposed to get married, never supposed to love, never supposed to whatever. And it was all about her breaking out. And of course, it had a tragic ending, Academy Award winner. Anyway, the point being is, Like Water for Chocolate, good movie, bring Kleenex. So it's assignment. And my mom used to tell me this all the time. She's like, oh, you're a loner. You're a loner. And I'm like hell I am. I'm social like nobody's business. I'm your cruise director, people. You know what I'm saying? And she kept telling me, you're a loner, you're a loner, you're a loner. And no, I'm not. I like people. I do. She didn't. But she also had a lot of abuse. And I understand why she did that. But again, parents need to be careful that they're not shoving their issues onto the kids. My mom had issues with people because she was abused and she married an abuser. 2 of them, actually. And so you don't want to project onto your children your own issues. Does that make sense? So just because your family has said, well, and again, with me, my dad told me I was the cute one, not the smart one. So, I was kind of like, funny, I'm the only one that owns my own business. Hello, thank you very much. It's like, just because they have predicted your doom, you've got to understand they're talking about themselves. They are talking about that when somebody predicts your doom, when somebody says you're a loner or you're the cute one, not the smart one. Well, they're talking about themselves. They're talking about themselves. They're not talking about you. They don't even know who the hell you are. They don't know who the hell they are, let alone you. You know what I'm saying? So you've got to be able to, as an adult, talk to that inner child and go, hey, little one, when mom and dad said this, they were talking about themselves. They were not talking about you. You can be the author of your own destiny. You are the captain of this ship. You're El Capitan. You can do whatever you want. I just suddenly thought of Q when I said that. You can do whatever you want. You can decide where you're going and who you're with and what you're up to. You are not doomed to follow their weirdness. Okay. Okay. And I swear I'm going to get to questions in just a second. My emotions were experiences that I had control over, not some unalterable truth. My emotions were experiences that I had control over, not some unalterable truth. Now, here's the thing. Feelings are not facts, and we often confuse that. So it's okay to have feelings, but they're not necessarily facts. So again, inner child work. Work with that child. It's okay to have feelings. It doesn't mean it's unalterable. Just because you're sad about this does not mean you're going to be sad forever. It means you're having a moment of sadness in time. Things change. Hairstyles change. Weather changes. So do emotions. Go with it. So that's the important thing. So this article is Attachment and the Search for the Inner Child by Hal Shorey, PhD, on Psychology Today. Okay, let's get to the questions. All right. Do narcissists themselves overshare? Only when they are trying to establish the illusion of intimacy. So let me be clear about this. So they will share things in an effort to get you to open up. But it's different than oversharing that we do. So oversharing that we do is kind of like a stream of consciousness, panicked, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing, and blah, 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 and just this frantic kind of oversharing, talking, trying to figure out what they want, this, that, and the other thing. They overshare to get us to open up in the love bombing phase, especially. So they'll offer a nugget of personal information, hoping that you're going to turn around and do that. Now, the other way that they overshare is they are so arrogant, they will basically tell you what they are going to do. So, they will say things like, oh, you shouldn't love me, I'll leave you. They weren't lying. So, and we don't believe them, of course, because, we're thinking that they're normal people and they are not. And so, they say things like that, or, I'll only hurt you, that kind of thing. And we don't believe them, and we need to believe them. I very much pay attention to what people say. And when somebody says, oh, well, I may be a narcissist, so there ain't no maybe in there, buddy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you are, have fun with that. Yeah. So, it's listen. You've got to listen. You've got to listen to what they say, and you've got to believe them, because they do slip. They do, and it's almost like this game of, are they going to catch me? And I think it's a little bit of, no, it's not a little bit. It's a lot of bit of arrogance. It's like, if I tell them the truth with this, are they going to believe me? And 9 times out of 10, we don't, because we've been groomed by family of origin not to. And we've been groomed by society, oh, well, they're just self-depreciating, there's just, they couldn't be that bad. No, and you've got to be like, that's a red flag. So yeah, there's that. Hold on, let me get back to the rest of that question. I experienced a narcissist sharing so many things that could cause them trouble. Yeah, they do, because they don't think they're going to get caught. It's like they want to get caught. Yep. And to show off what they've done. 110%. So again, one of my favorite shows on, I think it's ID, is Signs of a Psychopath. And almost all of them brag. That's how they get caught, is that they slip to somebody bragging about the murder that they committed, or the crime that they committed, or whatever. And they truly feel, it's that antisocial thing. They feel they're above the law, that they're never going to get caught, that nobody's going to turn them in. They've got this weird magic thinking, but it's different than the magic thinking that other people have. Their magic thinking is along the lines of, I'm invincible. I'm never going to get caught. I'm above the law. I'm smarter than everybody else. A hubris like nobody's business. Yeah, they do that. And it's kind of a how long can I get away with it kind of thing. It really is. Yeah. And I do think they want to get caught. I do. I think, or they want to see how long they can go without getting caught. You know what I'm saying? So, and how many people they can pull the wool over. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Hi, Chris. About to go on a church weekend retreat. I like to go into deep conversations, but I am working on the oversharing. So do I just do surface level convos? Kind of boring to me. Well, here's the deal. Again, if you don't know these people, would you go to a total stranger and start bearing your soul? You shouldn't, because you don't know if that total stranger is a covert narcissist, a antisocial, you don't know who they are. So you want to stick to things where you get to kind of know each other. And, you can talk about life, the universe, and basically everything, but be careful of what you share personally until you feel out whether or not they are safe. And that takes time. That's not going to happen over a weekend retreat. It's going to be more of a, let's see if I like them. Let's see if we have a lot in common, and you can talk about, things, hobbies. What do you guys have in common? So religion obviously is important. Talk about that, talk about, what do you like to do for hobbies? What do you like to do for fun? Where do you like to travel? I love talking about that. It's like, then I get new places to go to. I'm like, oh, you liked this place? Oh, let's go try that. So, it's like, and never underestimate the power of chit chat. Chit chat can tell you who a person is, if you're listening. So don't consider it boring. chit chat is important. Chit chat is kind of like getting to know the person. What is their basic attitude? What is their, outlook on life? Are they, pretty much go with the flow, or are they always trying to control things? Or, how a person responds to chit chat is really important. Are they always having to be the center of attention? Are they always turning the conversation back to them? Those are all red flags and things to look out for. So chit chat is important. So don't go diving too deep until you know who they are and what their agenda is. So that's my recommendation for that. And don't allow your brain to tell you that it's boring. No conversation is boring. I mean, it tells me volumes about people. I mean, it's so interesting to sit in an airport and listen to the conversations going around. And you can know a lot about people just by hearing the conversations, So anyway. All right. All right. My ex emails me pretending that it is about our kids, but then launches into how horrible I am. What do? You ignore it. You absolutely ignore it. If there is something, so here's the thing. Susanna Quintana, I love her. She is a life coach, and she helps people figure out how to whittle down the emails. So if you're interested in getting together with Susanna Quintana at susannaquintana.com, she helps people read the emails, find that one line that's about the kids, respond to that, and ignore the rest. You are seriously going to have to become a Zen master. By the time you are done with this, you're going to be a doctorate in psychology, and you're going to be a Zen master. So no matter what nastiness is thrown at you, yes, they will say, oh, it's about the kid. And then it'll be in novels like, they all do the same thing. I swear to God. It's like there's a freaking handbook out there for how to be a jerk. It's like how to be a narcissistic jerk in 3 easy steps. So yeah, they all do the same thing. They all, say it's about the kid, and then it's a diatribe about how horrible you are and all your wrongs and all this and all that. What you're going to have to do is skim through it. Look at it like an attorney. And you're also going to have your law degree. Look at it like an attorney. What needs to be responded to? Well, none of this. This is all hearsay. None of that. That's all just accusations that I don't need to respond to. Oh, look, buried in the middle, one line about the kid. That is the one line you respond to. The rest of it, what you can do is you can write it out and burn it. Do not respond. 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 Listen to me now. Believe me later. You do not want this going into a court of law, but what you do want is their diatribe. Do you see where I'm going with that? You want their crazy in there. You don't want your crazy in there. Does that make sense? Because they make us crazy. They do. They do. Absolutely. And that inner child wants to respond and just be like, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Well, they know they're wrong, and they're hoping that that inner child is going to respond. Do not respond. Do not, do not, do not. I know you want to respond. So what you can do is, on a separate piece of paper, so you're not tempted to send it, write them a go pound sand letter. Dear X, you're a jackass. You're wrong. None of this is true. Bleep the bleepity bleep bleep out of bleeping bleep you bleeping bleep bleep bleep. Do you see where I'm going with that? At the very end, take your power back. You know what, Mother Clucker? I'm not going to respond to you. I'm just going to let you sit there and stew, wondering if I'm going to respond, because I'm not going to. Y'all are going to have to wait till doomsday. You see where I'm going with that? Take your power back. There is power in not responding. We think there's not. It's so weird. In our society, it's kind of like, oh, but I have to fight back. Au contraire. They're sitting there stewing because you're not responding. So the best way to piss them right the bleep off, don't respond. Narcissists, you got to understand, guys, narcissists are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, like technical term. They would rather have a negative response to something they've said than no response at all. No response at all drives them crazy. Let it. Because then their nastiness is going to ramp up. And if you've got an Our Family Wizard, it's going to be clear in the Our Family Wizard who the problem is. That's why you do not want to engage. That's why you do not want to tit for tat, because it doesn't make a bit of difference. They are dedicated to misunderstanding you. Let me say that again. You are their punching bag. They are vomiting all of their nastiness onto you. Okay? They're not going to stop. It doesn't stop. It doesn't. When the kid turns 18, it'll stop until there's a wedding or a birth or a funeral or some reason that you all have to get back together again. So just be prepared. This is who they are. They're showing you who they are. Believe them the first time. Responding is not going to do any good. It didn't do any good when you were married to him. What the hell makes you think it's going to do any good now? Don't respond. No response is the best way to hurt a narcissist. Seriously. Because they think they're God. And they think that they are, deserving. I demand a response. Well, you can demand it until the cows come home, mother clucker. It ain't going to happen. See where I'm going with that? Don't give them a response. Write it out and burn it. Write out whatever you'd like to say to them and burn it. Do not send it. The other day, I had a client, dear God, who sent the letter. I told them not to, and they sent it. And of course, it gave the abuser all the ammo they needed to isolate the person from the family. And I was like, I told you not to do it. Why did you do it? Well, I didn't believe you. Okay, how old were you when you didn't believe me? Because this is kind of my job. Kind of know what I'm talking about. What's going on? So we had to work through the whole inner child thing. And the inner child was the one that was like, but. And the inner child really threw a wrench in that relationship by giving the abuser all the ammo. So that's what you don't want to do. That's what they're going to do. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Absolutely. That's why you say nothing. That's why you say absolutely nothing. Because then they got nothing. If you don't respond and you're responding to whatever the child's needs are, yes, no, keep it short, keep it brief, no explanation, just address whatever the issue is, yes or no, and if they decide to send another book, great, let them. But you don't respond to that book unless it has to do with the kid. And you keep it facts and figures only, so that when our family wizard goes before the judge can see you're responding in an appropriate manner and they are the ones that are being abusive. That's what you want to do. So if you feel like you absolutely need to respond, take it out onto a piece of paper, write it out longhand, tell them to go pound sand, tell them whatever, but also at the very end, take your power back. It's like, you're going to wait until the cows come home, mother clucker. I am not responding. You can just sit and stew on that. Have fun. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Guess who has the power? Me, not you. Not you. You got to find the humor. You got to find the humor, because remember, narcissists have no sense of humor, none. And take your power back where you can. So that's really important. Do not respond. Okay. What does it mean when a man says to you that all men cheat? Says he's a cheater. So narcissists basically call themselves out. And they will say things like all men cheat or everyone lies. Now, remember, we talked about that when I talked about the whole, if their lips are moving, they're lying. So basically what it is they cannot conceive of people doing things differently than they do. Because in their minds, everyone is exactly like them. And anyone who isn't exactly like them is the enemy. So remember that. Everyone has to be exactly like them. So because they do something, they say everybody does it. Oh, well, everybody cheats. Everybody lies. No, mother clucker, they don't. And there's been studies that prove that. So yeah, they're basically they're saying who they are. They are telling you who they are. And they are telling you either what they are doing or what they very will soon be doing. So I would go get tested and I would leave. Absolutely, 110%. I refuse to call my mother for Mother's Day. Yes, absolutely, that's okay. I believe no contact is best, but I feel pressure on the holiday to reach out. Yes. Okay, guys, here's the deal. I hate Father's Day because I had a really horrible relationship with my dad because he was abusive. Mother's Day, my mom is dead. So here's the deal. And she had issues, God bless her. Here's the deal. You are under no obligation to call them. If they were abusive, if they were nasty, if they were harmful, hurtful. Here's the question I ask everybody. If you were not related to them, would you have anything to do with them? And if the answer is no, you'd act accordingly. Do not have anything to do with them. You're under no obligation. And what I really hate is when flying monkeys or family friends, get a hold of you and go like, oh, well, but it's your parent. I don't care if they were abusive. I have no space in my life for them. Thank you. So you stay no contact. You don't feel pressure. Please do not feel pressure. You do not have to contact them. You don't. If they were abusive, they were neglectful. And here's the other question I often ask people. It's like, when they start feeling guilty, like around these holidays, I go, okay, well, here's the question. Is your life better without them? Oh, yeah, it's a lot better without them. There's your answer. If it's better without them, keep them out. You don't need them in just because they're your parent. It doesn't mean anything. They're a parent in name only. Seriously, think about it. A real mom, a real dad is supportive and loving and kind and there and fun and, offers boundaries and teaches you about life and all that sort of good stuff. Those people are sperm and egg donors. That's about it. Because there was no emotion, there was no support, there was no love, there was no help, there was no, like my dad's hue and cry was, as soon as you're 18, I'm kicking you out and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And da, 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 da. He was a horrible person. He really was. And of course he tried to do that before I turned 18, but, they're not parents. They don't teach kids how to survive in the world. They don't. And they groom us to be abused by other abusers. So, yeah, you owe them diddly squat. So do not feel guilty. Now, here's the deal. And I talked about this on Wednesday. Shame and guilt. Okay. Guilt is different than shame. Guilt is when we've done something and we know we shouldn't have done it, like we've hurt somebody's feelings and we know we did. And so we need to make amends. And then we go do it. Okay. Shame is where somebody else comes in and says, you need to feel guilty about this. That's shame. Guilt is internal, shame is external. So if you're feeling shame about not calling your mom, you need to tell those people to go pound sand. Seriously. It's like, if anybody ever starts, saying something about, oh, well, you shouldn't talk bad about your dad. He's dead and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I dare the bitch. I dare that ghost to come into this room because I will give him a piece of my mind. And let me tell you why. And then they are like, oh, okay. So, you don't owe society or family friends or flying monkeys or anybody else an explanation as to why you're not in contact with them. Although I do. I point blank. My dad was an abusive a-hole. Sorry. I'm not going to talk to him. Well, he's dead. But even if he did come back, oh, well, no, I might give him a piece of my mind. But, it's the weird things our society has. It's like, no, if somebody's abusive, they're abusive. You do not have to have them in your life. I don't care what day it is. Does that make sense? Okay, hold on. Let's see. Wait a minute. I'm going to answer one more because I think there was another question. Have you ever experienced a flying monkey of them going nuts, like wearing winter clothing in summer? That would be schizo. Oh, is it affective or typal? Oh, do I have my book? No, I don't have any of my books. Lord, that's schizotypal or schizoaffective is where they wear, and I can't remember which one it is, and I'll have to look it up. So I will readdress that one on Wednesday. John, if we could make sure to have that one on Wednesday, that would be good. It's one of those two, and they wear inappropriate clothing. So like, yeah, summer clothes in the winter clothes in the summer, very odd thoughts of reference, kind of third person kind of thing. So I will go more into that on Wednesday. Okay, kids, so here's the deal. I am not going to be on air for the next 2 Sundays because I am taking John on his birthday trip because last year we did Disneyland and it was a disaster because Bob Asshat was in charge, Chapek. And so I told him I'd make it up to him. So I am taking him on a cruise. We're going to Alaska. If you are interested in doing the meet and greet, your last day to buy tickets is on Thursday. So I will be in Vancouver, BC. I will let you know where we are when you buy the tickets. And for Portland, I have not decided on the venue yet. So that's why you don't have a thing saying where we're going to be. But I'm going to be in Portland July 2nd. So if you would like to come see me in Portland or if you'd like to come see me in Vancouver, BC, please do buy those tickets for Vancouver, BC before Thursday because that's the cutoff time. All right. So anyway, there's that. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below, or you can IM me on Facebook. If you have topics that you would like to see me talk about, please do let me know. And that's it. So you guys have a good couple of weeks. Take really good care of yourselves. And I will talk to you not next weekend, not the weekend after, but the weekend after that, which will be the first weekend in June. So there's that. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Be good to yourselves. Bye.